Okay, we're going to begin on the floor, lying supine. You need your small anti-burst ball. You're going to bring the anti-burst ball under your pelvis by lifting the pelvis up and placing it right under your tailbone sacrum area. We're going to be doing some pelvic extension work to open up that low back. Go ahead and take the pointer fingers to the bony protrusions of your hips. Exhale as you arch your pelvis over the ball by guiding the pelvis down towards the heels. Make sure your feet are hip distance apart and parallel. Think about when your pointer fingers are on the bony protrusions, pull out on them a little, thinking about your pelvis widening, and then pull in on your lower abs like you're stopping your stream of pee, and tip that pelvis down even more, creating more arch in the low back. And then inhale, tip it back to a neutral position. So somewhere between that arch and tucking your butt under. Again, exhale, drop the pelvis over the ball, really accentuating extension in the pelvis. And then inhale, pick it back up to neutral. And as you're doing this, watch out for movement in the chest area, the pecs tightening and the chin dropping. So use your front of your neck, lift your chin up a little higher, because that affects posture. So if just moving your pelvis through space shifts your chin, it's going to give you that forward head look. So you've got to strengthen the front of the neck to combat that. Inhale, and we're going to exhale. We're going to begin circles of the pelvis. So keep the pointer fingers on the bony protrusions of the hips and initiate the circular pelvic movement from the lower pelvic floor, trying to not grab in your thighs or your glutes, but to really isolate and use the muscles that stop your stream of pee. And if you can think about your actual entire pelvis being pulled in that direction by someone, so down towards the bottom of your mat in whatever direction, like if you're at 5 o'clock, it's pulling down to the left on the diagonal. Keep that going, circling it around. And now let's do a couple circles in the opposite direction. If you were going clockwise, begin some counterclockwise circles. And notice how much the movement's happening in the thighs and legs. They should be following the pelvis completely because the pelvis is pulling through space and the low abs are fighting that pull. As they're pulling towards the bottom of your mat, your pelvic floor is pulling towards the top of the mat. So there's a tug of war happening, and that is really strengthening the lower abs. On your next exhale, I'd like you to center yourself, put your hands on the ground. Inhale, lift the hips up and take that ball out from underneath you. You're going to need your third to heaviest Therband, and you're going to place the ball under your head to support the head since the hamstrings are tight. We're going to go ahead and take our dominant leg into the air. So if you are typically, this is the opposite leg of your dominant hand. So if you're left-handed, that's your right leg. If you're right-handed, that's your left leg. Unless you've had an injury that's put you in a cast for over 6 months where you've compensated and perhaps gotten stronger in the other leg. Go ahead and lie down. Our anti-burst ball is under our head. We're taking that dominant leg up into the air, wrapping the band around the metatarsals and dorsiflexing the foot to combat the plantar flexion in the ankles. Stretching out our hamstring here. This is level 3 deep flexibility. We're holding each posture for 2.5 minutes. Now, that can be a lot, but you've worked your way up. You've done level 1 and 2 by now, and it's only an extra 30 seconds. So I'd advise you, if you're feeling any joint pain as you're doing this, to keep the knees soft, to keep checking in with your pelvis. Take the band in the opposite hand as the leg lifted, and take the other hand behind your low back. Tip your tailbone towards the bottom of the mat and create some space. If there's not space there, you're putting pressure on the low vertebrae, and you can get some chronic back pain just from doing this. So we want to keep that space. Dorsiflex the foot of the lifted leg, trying to lift that thigh. You can actually bend the knee if you're fatiguing, and then inhale, straighten the leg to deepen the stretch. So just coming in and out of it, making it active. Or you can isometrically hold it and just breathe. Now's the time to really channel that Ujjayi, Darth Vader, fog of mirror sound. See if you can increase the length of your inhales and exhales here. And this is really great for your heart health. There's benefits even from stretching if you're breathing and you're consciously breathing. So you're using that Ujjayi ocean sound. Go ahead and bend your knee, and we're going to make our way to the other side, setting up on the other side. And as you are stretching out your other side, if you notice that it's significantly easier because it is the non-dominant leg, then I advise you to spend the time back on that dominant side and switch back, and we'll work on evening out your flexibility. So same stretch, dorsiflexed foot. We have this third to heaviest Therband, and for me that's my green one because I'm using the YouniquelyFit set of bands that you can purchase on our store. So dorsiflex your foot, tip the tailbone towards the bottom of the mat, widen the gap between the chin and the chest. Imagine the backs of the shoulders really pressing heavy into the floor. Try to imprint the shoulders, shoulder blades, mid-back. And again, move in and out of the stretch if it's bothering the knees or the back. Making sure to keep the foot dorsiflexed at all times, but you can bend the knee on your exhale and lift the shin on your inhale. Or you can isometrically hold that leg up, trying to fight for 90 and beyond. Tip your tailbone down towards the bottom of the mat. Pull the lower abdominals in. The ball can always be behind the head if you're straining the neck. Hear your breath. And if this side is loosening up, feel free to go back to your dominant side. We still have another minute on the clock. So using that breath, try this. Let's inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. Keeping that tempo. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep that going. As you're doing it, close your eyes. Go ahead and squeeze the front of the thigh to lift the kneecap to deepen the stretch. Tip your tailbone down towards the bottom of the mat. Imprint the shoulder blades into the floor. Plug your shoulders down your back, reaching the shoulders for the bottom of the mat. Engaging your scapular stabilizers. Relax the brow. Relax the jaw and the cheekbones. Just 5 more seconds. Breathing. On your next exhale, bend the knee, taking that band and setting it to the side. Now, we're going to be doing a supine twist, supine single leg twist. If you, when you do supine twisting, need props under your knee, go ahead and grab a bolster, a block, anything that you might need to prop. You can also use the ball too. You can pin the ball. So we'll start with your dominant leg, hugging that dominant leg in towards your chest and then taking it across the body. So slide the other leg out long and then taking that leg across the body towards the floor. Arms open out to a T and the head turns away from the knee. So dorsiflex the foot, both feet rather. You can have a soft bend in the leg that's on the bottom as well if you need that. And then think about tipping your tailbone back and creating some arch in the low back. Breathing here, inhale. And the knee that's crossed over, you can have the arm that's closest to it. You can have that hand on the thigh, pushing it down if that helps increase the stretch. Make sure you're not rounding your low back here. You need to tip your tailbone back, breathing into the rib cage that's highest, that's closest to the ceiling, expanding those ribs on each inhale and exhale. Tip your tailbone back even more. Plug the shoulders down. The arm that's in the T, make sure the elbow's not locking out. You don't want to put pressure on the joint, so softly bend the elbow. The wrist should be slightly below the shoulder. Close the eyes if it helps you relax deeper into the stretch. And let's breathe. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 more sets. 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 more. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale that knee back to center, bracing your lower abdominals. Sliding that leg out long, inhaling to lift the extended leg up, opposite leg, and now we'll twist in the other direction. Bring your props and bolsters to the other side to support that thigh as it comes towards the floor. Exhale as you twist, tipping the tailbone back, reaching it away from the thigh that's going down to the floor. Pull the abs in, turning the head in the opposite direction of the thigh that's down. Really lengthen the spine here, pulling the shoulders down the back, lifting the chin up, widening the collarbone. And we're going to inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale through the nose or mouth. Exhale out the mouth. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Darth Vader, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Continue on that tempo. Imagine me holding your pelvis, pulling it down towards the bottom of the mat. Keep length through your side body. Tip your tailbone away from the thigh that's on top, that's the knees down. Really reach that pelvis back in space, creating a big arch in the low back. And then fog a mirror with each exhale. Fog a mirror. Watch out for the shoulders starting to collapse inward. Keep pinching the shoulder blades together, using your shoulder blade anchor, that serratus anterior, by retracting the shoulder blades. That will help improve posture for your upper back extensors. And everybody, let's inhale, making our way back to center. Brace those abs. Exhale, sliding that leg out long. From here, you're going to need your third to heaviest loop band, and you're going to bring it around your non-dominant leg's thigh. This is a way to assist you if you can't do pretzel / piriformis stretch without someone assisting you, if you can't get deep into the posture. So with our third to heaviest loop band, for me, this is my blue band through Power Systems, and I'm sliding that around my leg all the way up to my thigh, my non-dominant leg. And you're going to, and remember, your dominant leg is the opposite one of your dominant arm. So that's your dominant leg. So if you're left-handed, your right leg is your dominant leg. If you're right-handed, your left leg is your dominant leg. So it's the opposite. And you'll learn more about that in the strength and toning series. But from here, go ahead and take your leg that does not have the band around it and take the ankle to the knee of the leg with the band around it. So it's ankle to knee pose. Bending the bottom leg's knee, putting the foot on the ground. Inhale, prepare, pulling the pelvis down towards the bottom of the mat, arching the low back. Exhale, brace those abs as you lift the bottom leg up. Taking that bottom leg shin to 90, let's take it to parallel to the floor and dorsiflex the foot. From here, use the same hand as the leg that's crossed in front to open that thigh away from you, to push it away from you. And the other hand's pulling the thighs up close to you. You want to keep that lifted position. You can always place the anti-burst ball under your head if your neck is straining, just to elevate your head a little bit. And this oftentimes helps you just focus on the outer hip that we're stretching. So make sure the bottom knee is bent, the feet are dorsiflexed. You're opening up that top leg's thigh. Tip your tailbone down towards the bottom of the mat, arching your back. Go ahead and lift. Make sure that that bottom leg's lifted, shins parallel to the floor. Keep breathing, bracing the abs, opening up. So you're really opening up the hip of the leg that's on top. So you need to be pushing out on that thigh, opening it up. Keep the low back extended. There should be space between the low back and the floor. You can check it out. Is there a mouse hole between the low back and the floor? One more breath here. And let's switch our cross. So we need to take that loop band to the other thigh, wrapping it around. And then we're going to cross the leg that doesn't have the band over, dorsiflex the foot. And this band is simply here. If you can grab your hamstring easily without rounding your low back, you don't need the band. But for the most part, people with this posture cannot do that without rounding the low back, which is why we have the band as a way to assist and not disrupt the pelvic position. Use that outside hand, open the outer thigh. Really dorsiflex your feet and watch out for the position falling towards the floor. We want to keep the bottom leg's knee up at 90 with the pelvis extending. But if that causes you to round your back, you do need to drop it down a little. And that's where this loop band comes in handy. So everybody is breathing. And if you need to come out of the stretch because it becomes too much and you're feeling back pain, lower down on an exhale and come back into it on an inhale. And watch out for, there's a tendency for the chin to really jut forward. So even if you have your head on the ball, try to lift your chin up and use the front of the neck to press back into the ball to keep the neck flexors a little active here. Watch out for the shoulder blades coming apart and protracting. Try to pull them together even on the floor. You'll feel the backs of the arms pressing into the floor, activating your triceps. All of this is great for holding our upper back up and avoiding kyphosis. If this side has loosened up quite a bit and the other side was really, really bad, feel free to go back to your first side since it was your dominant side and spend the remaining 40 seconds. Otherwise, stay here. Use that ujjayi breath, ocean breath, to relax your mind and deepen into each postural stretch. 20 seconds here. Soften the facial muscles, soften the mind. Just 10 seconds. Are you breathing consciously? Working those lower abdominals as you're doing this. Slowly make your way out of the stretch, setting the loop band to the side, coming to a comfortable seated position. You can either use a foam roller or a trigger ball for this next flexibility exercise. If you use the foam roller, you're going to be doing one leg at a time. We're going to be rolling out our calves. Your hands will come behind your butt. The roller will come under your dominant leg's calf to begin. So the calf is below the knee. And just one leg at a time, bend the other foot, put it on the ground. Dorsiflex the leg, the foot of the extended leg. And then here's the tricky part. Tip your tailbone back towards whatever's behind you, trying to lift your pelvis without rounding it under. Your fingertips can face out to the side or towards the butt. Out to the side will open the shoulders more. You don't have to lift the hips that high. They can just hover from the floor, and you can lower down and lift. So I'd advise lifting on the inhale with the tailbone back, lowering on your exhale. And maybe you don't even need to lift your pelvis to feel some intensity and stretching in the calf. And if that's where you are today, honor that and be there. Dorsiflex your foot more and breathe. You can also use a trigger ball, lacrosse ball, tennis ball, any sort of small ball to get deeper into the tissue if that is something you have with you. So hear your breath. This is a great workout for the upper back. At the same time, we're opening up the front of the shoulders, the anterior delts, and the pec minor, which are posturally tight. And we're building some awareness of the scapular stabilizers. So think about your shoulder blades pulling together here every time you pick yourself up. And we're still on the same side, that dominant leg. We're getting into the fascia of the dominant leg first. So we can always return to it when we're working our non-dominant leg if we've gotten all the knots out. So self-myofascial release allows you to stimulate what's called the Golgi tendon organ, and this sends signals to the brain to release knots that are similar to when you tie a knot in a rubber band, that are not going to dissipate when you're stretching for short periods of time and could pull those muscle fibers when you're doing strength work. So it's really important to add foam rolling into your repertoire. You've got 30 seconds left, and just make sure that your pelvis hasn't gotten lazy and you're actually engaging. Don't disengage with the lower pelvic floor. I don't want any back issues to come from our flexibility work. That would not be good. We've got 10 seconds here, and feel free to take a pause and get some water at any point in time. Deep flexibility requires a lot of hydration, so make sure you get the minimum of 8 ounces of water eight times today. So a cup of water 8 times today. If you're drinking caffeine and alcohol, go ahead and switch sides. If you're drinking caffeine and alcohol, you need to replace each cup of caffeine and alcohol with an additional glass of water for full hydration. And oftentimes when we're overeating, it's because we're actually dehydrated. So I used to struggle with this a lot. I really didn't like to drink water. It was just not something that I enjoyed. And now I intersperse my drinking water when I'm eating. So I have a lot of OCD qualities, and I'm sure we all can relate. I will count how many bites of food I eat, and then I will drink that many sips of water. And I get full a lot easier. I eat a lot less food that way, and I'm hydrated. So if you're willing to give that a try for a couple weeks, it kind of becomes a habit that you don't have to think about after a while, and you stay hydrated and you eat the recommended amount of portions per meal, which is important for maintaining a healthy weight. We have about a minute left here. If you're noticing that you've gotten those knots out on this non-dominant side, feel free to go back to your dominant side. And again, it's super important that you don't round your pelvis here, because that's reinforcing bad posture. And you may think, oh, it doesn't matter that much. But when your pelvis is out of alignment, it affects your upper back. It affects your ability for your diaphragm to breathe correctly. So you throw your whole system off and you can't be at your best. So this can cause injuries, and it can decrease your improvement in sport-specific training. So we want to learn to stabilize our pelvis and use our lower abdominals. Your foot is dorsiflexed because of the forward lean that this posture can have on people, and we want to combat that plantar flexion that is constant in your ankles. Go ahead and retract your shoulder blades here, working that shoulder blade anchor. Just 10 seconds to go. And I'm going to count you down 5, 4, get into those knots, 3, 2, and 1. Set the ball to the side or the foam roller. We're going to come to stand by a wall. We're going to be doing a simple gastrocnemius stretch. And this is your outer calf muscle. So you'll face the wall, standing by the wall, face it. Bring your hands both chest height on the wall. And from here, I'd like you to step your dominant leg back first for this calf stretch. So stepping it back into a lunge. Now, what I often see is the head dropping forward. Can you lift your chin up, taking the gaze a little higher than eye level? I want you to imagine I have your hips, and as you inhale, I'm pulling the pelvis down towards the floor, and you're pushing it forward towards the wall. So as you push it forward, you get into the front of the hip too, but make sure as you push it forward, you don't push the belly out. Pull the lower abs in, lift up on the muscles that stop your stream of pee, and you may want to look over your shoulder to see if that back foot is parallel. It needs to be completely parallel, and you want a nice right angle with that front knee because you're bending deeply, and the back leg is pretty straight. You're not locking the knee out and getting into the joint, but it's almost completely straight, so you get into the entire outer calf muscle, that gastrocnemius. So we're hearing our breath here. Inhale and exhale. Try taking your front legs hand to the hip, and I want you to try to square that pelvis a little more to the wall. Take your thumb to the bony protrusion of your hip, and your fingers will point down towards the floor. So they'll be together on the outer thigh. That allows your shoulder blade to come together towards the other one, retracting that shoulder blade, keeping you from falling into kyphosis. Lift your chin up. Take your gaze higher than eye level. Each inhale, you pull that pelvis down in the direction your fingers are now pointing, and your thumb pulls out on that bony protrusion of the hip so that you feel the width of the pelvis, that you stay engaged through the lower abs. You've got another 30 seconds here. If you need to bend the back knee a little, do so. Watch out for the forward head syndrome. Widen your collarbone, retract your shoulder blades. Hear your breath. 30 seconds, just 30 seconds. Quieting the mind by counting your inhales and exhales, closing the eyes, seeing how that feels. Another 10 seconds. Use each exhale as a chance to drop the heel heavier towards the floor to let the inner thighs pull in opposition of the wall in front of you to the wall behind you. And you're pushing against that, pushing the pelvis forward and feeling it pulling down on each inhale. Go ahead and switch sides, setting up on the other side. I like to start with my legs hip distance apart and then step the leg back. So make sure your legs aren't wider than hip distance. Your pelvis is pushing forward. The hand that's on the hip is the same as the front leg. The other hand's on the wall. The fingers are pointing down except for the thumb that's on or reaching, depending on the length of your thumb, towards the bony protrusion of that hip. Imagine the pelvis pulling down towards the floor on the inhale. On the exhale, the inner thighs pull back to the walls behind you or wall behind you, and as the pelvis pulls forward in opposition. So there's all these ways to continue the energy lines in the body to create more length and strength while you're building deeper flexibility. Watch out for the hips hiking. Make sure your inhales are pulling the pelvis down. Your exhales are strengthening the pelvic floor as you drive the hips forward and pull that back heel towards the floor. Keep breathing here. You'll notice a burn in your outer hip. This is also going to strengthen your glutes as you hold this posture. So you're getting some strength work in today as well. I'd make sure that you do your flexibility at least 3 times a week with your posture because it is an issue and it can cause injury if you don't address it. We've got about a minute on the clock. If you want to go back to your dominant leg because it needs more attention, do so. If not, stay here. Keep deepening in to this non-dominant leg's calf. Something you could play around with is bending the back knee a little and still trying to drive the heel down. This gets into the soleus, and that is the central muscle of the calf, and it's responsible for stabilizing. So if you do a lot of balance work for one reason or the other, in yoga or your job requires you to balance, this is a muscle that gets tight, and if pulled can cause a lot of issues. You've got another 15 seconds. Make sure your focus hasn't slipped to the floor. Keep the eyes up a little higher than eye level. Good. Imagine my hands on your shoulder blades, bringing the front ribs towards my hands, closing the front ribs so that you can access your abs. Go ahead and step towards the wall. I'd like you to grab your small anti-burst ball, and you're going to bring it between your knees. And then I'm going to turn away from you so that you can see my back. My palms, I want you to bring your hands behind your back, palms facing forward. So arms are long by your sides, but behind your back, palms are facing forward. And from here, we're going to inhale, prepare. Exhale, pull the shoulder blades together so that the collarbone spreads wide. Bend your knees a little, tip your tailbone back, finding some lumbar extension. Active way to open the front of the shoulders in the pec minor. And we're building strength in our shoulder blade anchor here. Again, let up on that. And exhale, pulling the shoulder blades together. Pull those shoulder blades together. Hold it here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release it. And exhale, pull the shoulder blades together for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. And one more time, pull them together. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, release. And let's do 2 more for good measure because we really want to build strength in the upper back extensors. Hold them in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, release. And one more time, squeezing them together. 5, bend the knees, tip the tailbone back. Make sure the focus of the eyes is up a little higher than eye level. Brace the lower abdominals. Good. Take that ball out from between the knees, set it to the side. You can either keep your legs hip distance apart or bring them together now, completely together. Make sure there's a soft bend in the knees. Flip your palms forward. Couple more sets. Inhale. Exhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Hold them here. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Again, pull them together. Hold 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. You got 4 more sets. Pinch them together and hold 6. Long fingers, palms wide. And release. Keep going. 3 more sets. And exhale, pinch them in. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. 2 more. Squeeze. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. And last one. Squeeze them together. Go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And release. From here, let's go over to the wall, facing the wall. You're going to bring your dominant arm into a T. So on the wall, dominant arm, and I want you to twist away from this arm, bringing the outside hand onto the hip, opening up your pec major here, making sure the wrist is slightly below the shoulder, soft bend in the elbow, bend the knees, tip the tailbone back, lift your chin, and just breathe here. Inhaling and exhaling. This stretch we won't be holding for 2.5 minutes just because that can be a little too intense on the front of the shoulders. We'll just be here for 1.5 minutes on your dominant side and 1 minute on your non-dominant side. So close the eyes. Let's do some Ujjayi breath. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, ground yourself. Exhale, twist deeper. 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, pelvis pulls to the floor. Abs are in. Inner thighs pull back to the wall behind you, helping you engage the inner chain of the legs. Just 30 more seconds here. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 more breaths. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last breath. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turning to face the wall slowly, bringing your non-dominant arm up into that T. Outside hand to the hip, twisting away from the wall, feet hip distance apart, soft bend in the knees. Bring the chin up, widening the space between the chin and chest, collarbone wide. Find that shoulder blade retraction we were just doing. Really close those shoulder blades together. Plug the shoulders down the back. Hold it here. Inhale. And exhale, twisting a little deeper into the stretch. And inhale, shoulders plug down. Exhale, front ribs are reaching for the back ribs. Again, inhale, pelvis pulls towards the floor. Exhale, inner thighs pull back. Inhale, collarbone gets wider. Exhale, Darth Vader breath. Slowly make your way out of that. We're going to now bring our back against the wall with our arms up in cactus position. Final stretch and strength exercise in our deep flexibility series. Holding this position, I'd like you to try to imprint your shoulder blades, the back of the shoulders, the back of the arms and hands into the wall. Your feet are about a foot in front of you. If at any time you fatigue in your upper back, keep your tailbone connected to the wall and just allow your upper back to fold forward and release. That's a nice release if you feel like you can't hold the posture any longer. But our goal is going to be to hold it for that full 2.5 minutes, building a lot of strength in the upper back, making sure the elbows are at the same height as the shoulders. You're widening the distance between the chin and the chest by engaging your neck flexors. You're pressing the knuckles, the wrists, the backs of the arms, the shoulder blades, the mid-back, the tailbone into the wall. Notice if there's one side that's making more contact than the other. See if you can create a little more pressure and energy to that side that's not working as efficiently. On my inhale, I like to think about my torso lengthening. On my exhale, I like to think about my abs pulling in and up and my inner thighs pulling back. The inner thighs pulling you back helps you bring you back into your legs even more to find that imprint. You're doing great. 1 minute down, 1.5 to go. So if you need that forward fold, it looks like this. The arms can pendulum out, doing little circles, external rotation, but my tailbone is still connected. So it's important with your posture that you don't allow your low back to flatten into your low back to press into the wall here, that you create some extension by tipping that tailbone over. Elbows are as high as the shoulders. You're really pressing the wrists evenly. Notice if one wrist is breaking. That's just tension. See if you can soften. Lengthen the fingers up to the ceiling. Lift your chin. Take that focus up. Close the eyes if it helps relax you and connect you deeper with your breath. Inhale, pelvis pulls down. Exhale, inner thighs pull back. Inhale, pelvis pulls down to the floor. Exhale, inner thighs pull back to the wall. You've got 30 seconds to go. Let's make this count. Building a lot of strength in the upper back to combat kyphosis. Watch out for the rib cage pushing forward. Think about the front ribs reaching for the wall as well behind you, trying to imprint. So those back ribs really have to press heavy, and then the front ribs can meet the back ribs. Widen your sternum. Proud chest. Shoulders gliding down the back, counting you down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job.